doing the right thing, to keep pushing, to keep praying and believing, and you don't see anything happening, and you're just like, okay, what's wrong? Is it me? Am I doing something wrong? God, where are you? Why do I hear crickets?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing that God knows right where you're at. Just this past week, it was this week. This week's not long. It's been a hard week. Multiple things breaking. Multiple things breaking. But we were invited over by some friends of ours just this week. Said, we invited you over just because we felt like God was showing us that you guys just need encouragement. Which was nice. It was nice. They were such great hosts, great food, and we had fun talking with them for quite a while. And it was nice to go, Lord, I guess you do see kind of what's going on. I appreciate that. And I think it was Thursday, I received a text from another guy that said, hey, you've been on my heart a lot lately, and I just want to let you know I'm lifting you up, and I'm here for you if you ever need anything. He gave me the impression that he felt like I was down, so he was trying to encourage me. Which I confess, I was like, yeah, I have been down a little bit. Things been getting to me a little bit more. And then today, we're starting, well, I guess technically we kind of started last week, but we're looking at the series Boundless. And it starts off with Hosea. It's an amazing story if you haven't read it, especially the first 3 chapters. You're like, read this is a crazy story. And it's a beautiful typology of what Jesus did with us and how God is so gracious to us. But I want us to look at verse 1. The word of the Lord that came to Hosea, son of Beeri, during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and during the reign of Jeroboam, son of Joash, king of Israel. There's a lot there. Believe it or not, there's actually a lot there in that first verse.
Yes.
The word of the Lord that came to Hosea. Well, Hosea means salvation. That's his name. That's what his name means. It's actually very closely tied to Joshua. There's several Hoseas. But it's very interesting that this word came to Hosea. One of the things we can pull from this verse right here. 1, God is a God who still speaks.
Yes.
As we saw just a few minutes ago during that quiet time. It says whenever we're still, God talks. When we wait, our strength is what? Renewed. The word of the Lord that came. It came. God seeks us out to speak to us. God wants us to hear His voice. God gave His Son so that we could have a relationship with Him. Not just to attend church on Sundays, but to have a relationship with Him on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yes, amen.
To be able to talk with Him. To see what His Word is saying to us. He wants to walk in fellowship with us every step of the way. He wants to help us make decisions. He wants us to have encouragement. That's how much He cares. The word of the Lord came to Hosea. The word of the Lord wants to come to you in your problems every day.
Amen.
The word of the Lord came. He's seeking you out. Will you listen? Will you listen? Another thing I just thought was so amazing. Notice all the kings. This is the part that really jumps at me right now. The kings. This happened in a specific time of history. A lot of times what happens, especially with Christians, we view God as He's out there, but He's not relative to my everyday time in history. Or we get the concept of how big God's love is, but we don't apply it to our everyday life. It's almost like there's the theology behind it, but there's not any practicality to it. Does that make sense? And in this verse alone, it says the word of the Lord came to Hosea during this time period, during his ministry. He wants to come to you in your everyday life. That's what I keep thinking of over and over right now. He wants to come to you in your everyday life. It's more. Christianity is more than just a set of beliefs.
Right.
Christianity is more than a set of rituals that we follow. Oh, I got to make sure I knock off my devotional today. Yep, check, I did that. Oh, I need to make sure I go pray for 10 minutes. Check, I did that. I need to make sure I go to church on Sunday because God wants me to church. Check. That's not true Christianity. Christianity is the word of the Lord coming to us every day and walking out a relationship with Him every single day. It's more about the relationship than the rules. Sometimes we feel that we have to follow the rules in order to have the relationship. But God is saying, no, if you have the relationship, you're going to eventually follow the rules. Because our obedience is tied to our love to our Master.
Yes.
Not because we're afraid we're going to receive punishment from our Master. So what does that mean? That means God's up there and He knows exactly where you are. He knows exactly what you're going through. He knows the questions you have. He knows the fears you have. He knows the bad attitudes you may have. He's not shocked and He's not surprised. But He wants to come into that situation that you're dealing with, that difficulty that you're having to walk through, and say, let me walk with you, and let me speak with you, and let me talk with you. And that only comes through relationship. It only comes through relationship. If we don't have that relationship, what normally will happen will be rebellion. We had a pastor friend that used to tell us, when we were dealing with kids, is that rules without relationship leads to rebellion.
Yes.
And that's true. If I try to tell my son what to do, and I don't have a relationship with him, usually there's going to be some fight back. But if our relationship is good and I tell him what to do, he wants to obey because he wants to please me. And that's the way it works with God. That relationship is key. And that's only through Jesus. Like what Dave said earlier, Jesus is the cornerstone. And if we don't have Jesus, we don't have anything, because we could go to church, we could follow the rules, but if we don't have Jesus, then we're really not a Christian.
Right.
You know those saying, just because I go sleep in the garage doesn't make me a car. Just because you go to church doesn't make you a Christian.
Exactly.
Just because you read the Bible doesn't make you a Christian. You have to have that relationship, and you have to surrender everything to Him. Mm-hmm. And when you do, the whole time, He wants to get involved in the everyday life. He wants to be more than just a God out there. He wants to be God in here. He wants you to walk with Him, and talk with Him, and share your struggles. Did you know He is not surprised when you're mad? Or when you go, you know what, that person hurt me, and I want to hurt them back, God. Let me lay hands on them. I'll pray for them later. They'll recover. You said that. Just let me lay hands on them first. I can make them an offer they can't refuse. He knows that. He does. He knows that about us. And He's not turned off. Because He's not afraid. He's not afraid. He's willing to work with our message because He's not afraid of it.
Right.
He wants what's best. He wants, ultimately, all He wants is your heart.
Amen.
That's it. I can confess, I get caught up in what can I do for God. Quite a bit. What can I do for God? How will I change this world? How am I going to be ablaze? And all He wants is my heart. Because the more I surrender to Him, the more that blade is going to be there. And I won't have to do anything except for surrender. One of the first sermons I preached here was trust and obey. I don't know if y'all remember. I still remember it. That's what He wants for us. Some of y'all are like, I have no clue. I don't remember that one. Trust and obey. That's all He wants from us. To trust Him and obey when He tells us to do something. We get that all from just that one verse. The word of the Lord came to Hosea during these specific time periods. It's interesting what He tells. I'll go ahead and keep going. We still got a few more minutes. It's interesting what He tells.
Yeah.
When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, "Go marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her. For like an adulterous wife, this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord." So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. So Lot, also in those two verses, when the Lord began to speak through him, He said this. If you look at the Hebrew, it says, "Go and take a wife." And the next verse says that he went and took. It's like the exact same phraseology. He was obedient to what God told him to do. Now, there is a lot of debate over those scriptures.
Right.
Because God, tells him to go marry this lady, and they're like, was she already promiscuous, or what, did it come afterwards? I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. A lot of the scholars believe that she was actually became very promiscuous afterwards. But there was a reason why he did it.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that later on as the series keeps going. But He told him to do it, and he was obedient. And that's what He's calling us to do. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I know it was very short. But I keep coming back to that thing. God wants to meet you where you're at.
Amen.
God knows what you're going through right now. He knows the decisions you need to make. He knows the burdens you're carrying. He knows what you're worried about. And He hears your prayers. You just need to trust Him. To trust and obey. And let Him have His perfect will and way in our hearts. Does that make sense? Because sometimes what happens, we want to fix everything ourselves. Sometimes there's a divine order and a time to fix things.
Amen.
I have pictures that pop in my head sometimes. I thought of a cake. If I'm fixing a cake and I put it in an oven and I want it fixed within 10 minutes, is that going to happen? No. If I pull it out too fast, what am I going to get?
Okay.
Yeah. Something that's not very good. But if I let it have its time
Right.
and let it go through the process and keep my hands off of it and allow the oven to do its work at the right time, I get to enjoy my cake. I can have my cake and eat it too. There's times in our lives that we have to allow God to work
Yes.
behind the scenes, and we just talk to Him about it. Okay, God, what should I do in this? Do I need to mess with this? No, okay. So, God, will you deal with this? And He's like, yeah, I'm the oven. Just let it sit and let me work on it. You keep your hands off of it. You just let me apply the heat when it needs to be applied. It may not be comfortable for that cake, but I'm doing the work in that cake. You just keep praying over it. Let the heat stay on it. And then at the right time, let you know. Now. Pull it out. The cake is ready. Yeah. I think there's times in our lives that that's what He's telling us to do. So be encouraged. You may have had a horrible week. You may have had a trying week. Right? You had a lot of things break. A lot of things. You may be a little discouraged. But that may be because there's things in your life right now that God doesn't. I'm just saying, just let it, just come see me, talk with me about this, and let me work behind the scenes. And let me finish the work in this area of your life.
Amen.
You just trust and obey. Amen? Let's pray. Father, it amazes me how just how you see everything. And nothing surprises you, nothing takes you off guard. You came to Hosea, Lord, in a specific time period. You gave him instructions, and you said, do this. And he did. Father, I ask that in our lives, our relationship will be with you just like that. That will be obedient to what you tell us to do. That will take our hands off of things when you tell us to take them off, and that will wait and trust and obey you. We love you, God. We know you love us more than we can even imagine, because you know exactly where we're at. I pray that you be with all of us this week. Thank you for your presence, God. In Jesus' name.